Hey guys, Dr. Henry Cloud here. You're listening to a rebroadcast of the Dr. Cloud Show, which is my live radio program that you can find on youtube.com/Dr. Henry Cloud or facebook.com/Dr. Henry Cloud if you want to listen live or even call in. Let's take a listen. Welcome back. It's the Dr. Cloud Show, and it is another day to be with you here. I said with you here. And the way I be with you is that you call me. So let me give you a number, 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774. I want to give the numbers right off the bat, 844-940-2774. Sometimes people tell us, I tried to call, but I didn't get in. Well, if you call in the early moments of the show, chances are you will. All righty. So welcome back. It's another day. And we are going to be talking about some good stuff today. I've got one of the most important things to talk about today. We talk about some idea sort of every day, for a little bit before we go to the phones. And the one I'm going to be talking about today, there are, there are things that people say, oh, this is really important. This is really important. Well, yeah, a lot of things are really important, but this is really important. So that's going to be coming up in a few minutes. A couple of announcements there. First, we had such a great time last night with our webinar. Such a great audience. We had a lot of questions that came in. We got to interact with at the end. It was called Restoring Your Brokenness, where mental health and faith come together. And I had said this before the event. So it was advertised as, it's a 2-hour webinar. But I said, with this topic, I just don't know how I could do it in 2 hours. And so we got into it, and we went for 3 hours and 15 minutes on that webinar. It's still all available to you. You can get it at boundaries.me/restore. That is, I'm pretty sure they'll be posting it. Albie can let me know. I don't know if it's up yet or not, but it will be. All of our webinars are available by going to boundaries.me, even the past ones. It's not up yet, but he said it will be. So make that note. Anyway, it was such a great time. And what we did at the end was we announced our next one. We're trying to do these. We're kind of on about one every 6 weeks or so, sometimes a little more frequent, a little less frequent. But this one is going to be September 28th. So that's a little further out. But the good thing about this one is you are right there in the early bird registrations. And this is going to be another important one. It's called The Art of Confrontation. Delivering the truth with love and grace. So what's it all about? Well, all of us need to have some sort of difficult, healthy confrontation, at some point. I remember one time, I can't remember who it was that said this, but it really stuck with me, that the degree of success that we will have in life will be equal to our ability to confront. And think about this. The degree of success we'll have in life will be equal to our ability to confront. Now, well, that sounds a little adversarial, right? Well, no, it's not. If you understand what confront means, and confront basically, it comes from the root word to face something frontally, confront, to lean into. And so when we confront something, it doesn't have to be angry. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be, any of that. It basically means having the capacity to lean into obstacles and problems. When you think about this, you're trying to have a successful relationship or a successful, business venture, and you get to this point and you run into an obstacle because people's needs collide, or perspectives or whatever. And you hit this obstacle, and that's why they say your ability to be successful fruitful in a relationship or in life and business and whatever else we're doing, coaching your kids' baseball team, you got to talk to difficult parents sometimes, right? Is the ability when you run into those obstacles to the art of facing into that and then resolving it and getting past. So now we can keep moving forward. Well, that's what the art of confrontation is about. Sometimes it's simple stuff. It's like, it's just hard for you to say no to somebody that wants time and energy, and you have to confront that problem. Sometimes somebody is actually hurting you, and sometimes the hurt can even be really difficult or abusive. Another place confrontation comes into play is when somebody's being irresponsible and you're having to enable them to feel like, and what if I stop? What happens? And all of these things call for us to get to a more fruitful place, a more successful place in that situation by having the art of confronting it. So that's coming up September 28th. You can sign up for that. And the early bird stuff is available. And that's where you save some money. And here it is. Here's the website, boundaries.me/confront. Boundaries.me. That's the website, www.boundaries.me/confront. That's how you get signed up. And also, while you're there, check out the boundaries.me world. We have so many topics and growth paths where I become your daily coach. I show up in your inbox with the action step for the day. It's called One Thing for boundaries.me subscribers. And go look at that. All righty, guys. I promised you that we were going to talk about something that was really, 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 really important, right? And the reason I say really, 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 really important is basically because it has everything to do with the spiritual nature of the universe, A. B, and when I say spiritual nature, I don't mean going to Sunday school. I mean that life is a spiritual endeavor. That's how it works. I mean, a lot of people think we live in a material universe. Well, you tell that to a baby. Tell that to a baby when all they get is material needs met: food, water, a bed, a blanket, and they're not loved. See, love is a spiritual connection. If they're not loved, then nothing works. Sometimes they even die. Their brain sizes are smaller, their body weights are lower, their immune system doesn't function. Later on in life, they just don't do as well. And so when I say this topic has to do with the spiritual nature of the universe, what I mean is we're constructed as material and immaterial beings, and they work together. A lot of times, we didn't understand this, the mind-body problem, but neuroplasticity and a lot of other discoveries have helped us even, you can even see it now, basically. So it has to do with the spiritual nature of the universe. I still haven't told you what it is, right? It has to do with the spiritual nature of the universe. And it also has to do with getting well pretty much in any arena. And it also has to do with thriving. It also has to do with our being able to succeed at things. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the internal soothing system. The internal soothing system of your makeup, how you're glued together, how you're wired. Now I'm sitting, I'm in my study right now, and I'm sitting in my house, and you know what? There's a soothing system here, atmospherically, right? You probably got one of these. We got a HVAC, heating and air conditioning, or HAC, I guess, heating and air conditioning. system. There's a system. Now that system had to be wired into the house. And the way it works is by some somewhat complicated, in today's world, abilities to sense what's happening and then to soothe that alteration in temperature when the house is getting uncomfortable, when it's too hot or it's too cold. What happens? A thermostat reads that, and then it starts to send to the house whatever it needs to calm it down. All right? You have one of those. God is wired into the neurobiology, the neuroanatomy, the physiology, the psychology, all of the intricacies of these billions of connections. I mean, you think there's a lot of wiring in a house. We don't have anything close to a human brain, the way that it's wired. You've got, you got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, and they do that all the time. You got the nervous system that sends all the messages, which is like the ductwork, and the ductwork that, sends the air that you need, different temperatures, neurotransmitters start to operate, all of this stuff. So, why is that important? Well, you go out into the world today and you go into a meeting. Let's say it's a sales call. And you get into the conversation, and then the customer gets irate at you for whatever reason, the way that your company's headquarters didn't service the last product. Who knows where it is? Or you're in a relationship like a marriage or an extended family. And something happens in that interaction where maybe you get an infusion of cold air, right? Or an infusion of hot air. But what happens is you get amped up, right? And then you get scared. You might get scared. I mean, that's normal if you're being threatened in some way. So you get anxious. We don't have to call it scared. Sometimes you get scared, but let's call it anxious because you're fearful. What if I lose a deal? What if this happens? What if they leave me? What if they, whatever it is, what if, blah, blah, blah. Because that's what your brain starts to think. Now that's happening because your system is responding, is getting amped up. And chemical reactions, just like a cold wave comes or a heat wave comes, well, cortisol, adrenaline, all this stuff is getting, released in your brain. Now, it may also be getting released because not just of that conversation, but that conversation is triggering other stuff that lives in your heart, mind, or soul, past even abuses or traumas or lots of things like that. So it gets triggered. Well, now the system is getting amped, right? It's getting hot inside the house. It's getting too cold in the house, whatever it is. Well, in a human, when this is happening, you have some degree of a capacity based on the wiring that's in your head, hardwiring and software, okay? Literal neurological circuitry and the software, which is our belief systems and our attitudes and our knowledge base on how to handle conflict, a bunch of stuff. Okay? Well, what happens at that moment, the thermostat reads beep, 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 beep. It's going up. And then now we're back to the degree of success we can have. Then your reactivity is going to come in, fight, flight, or freeze, right? And you have ceased to be able to deliver the appropriate response, which may be to leave, maybe. It may be to push back. It may be to listen and negotiate a better answer. It may be to realize the other person is threatened and to empathize, to calm them down. It may be to get on the phone and call somebody. It may be to, let me show you some later research on what we found out about the product that you have. See, there's 50,000 responses, but you can't pick the right response if your brain is being flooded by the heat, or it's too cold, or the temperature's off. So now your brain is not working, and you can't do the thing that's best for you and for the situation. So back to the internal soothing system. This thermostat kicks on, and it starts to calm you down, and then it starts to make other choices available to you. Now, where in the world does that come from? Well, let me tell you a little story about you, most of you. Some of you had some trauma and this was interrupted, but this is kind of sort of the normal way it happens. Little baby comes in the world. Think of the house, driving by a housing development, and they're framing the house, right? They got, there's not a lot there yet, but the trucks keep showing up and they keep adding to the house. Well, little baby shows up. There's not a lot in there inside. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of equipment. It's got to all be wired and hooked up, and then a bunch of stuff's got to be delivered by the trucks. Well, that truck is the caretaker. So here is how an internal soothing system gets built. There is a need state, and I want you to get this, guys. This is huge. When I said really, really, really important, I was not kidding. Huge. There's a need state. I'm afraid, the baby says. That's baby language. Or I'm wet. Or I'm hungry. Or I'm alone. Okay, that's a need state. Mom or whoever's taking care of them, the caretaker comes in, picks up that infant, takes the infant to their breast, calms them down, soothes them, speaks in tones that are very calming, even the tones that they're spoken to with begin to affect how the child is responding. Now you have something. What's the first thing? A need state. The second thing is that need state is met, and then you have something that I like to call a transformational experience. And that transformational experience is when they've gone from afraid to calm, scared to feeling safe, upset to happy, lonely to connected with. A lot of need states we have. But in that transformational experience, that is a wonderful thing for that moment, but that's not all it's for. The way that God has wired the human brain and heart and mind and soul, that experience gets internalized and it becomes part of the child. Then mom goes away. A few hours later, she comes back. She picks up. I remember watching Tori do this in the middle of the night when our girls were infants. Every 3 hours, and I'd see her. She'd take a deep breath. It's time again. You moms know this. And I'd see her disappear, and then she'd come back. Well, what was fascinating is every time that happens, that experience is getting internalized. Now, there is a reason why as a few months go on, and it gets to, I can't remember exactly when it was with our girls, that a couple of things happen. One is that time frame gets longer. They're sleeping a little longer before they wake up. And then the cries start to change from total weeping and gnashing of teeth, the Bible's description for what hell is like. I don't know why people, well, there's a lot of reasons, I guess, but one of the ways that I can imagine hell is the Bible says that hell is being separated from love. Well, and it says it'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Well, look at a baby's face when they're separated from love. They're in hell. But see, as they get connected with over and over and over and over and over and over and over, the soothing system, which was named mom or dad or grandma or whoever is bringing that comfort to them, that soothing system now each time is leaving an experience that's internalized that now lives within the child and literally becomes internal equipment, hardware and software. So that's why you see a child getting more and more and more transformational experiences. Watch what happens. The time increases because they're self-soothing. It doesn't even wake them up anymore. And then I'll never forget this phase when our girls would, because their room was down the hall. Both the girls were infants down the hall from us. And you would hear them wake up, wham, wham, wham. And then I'll never forget that they go across this curve. There's this hump where they started to wake up. Do you remember this with your babies if you've had them? Instead of waking up and they wake up and it's ba 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 ba, and they're waking up and they're just kind of enjoying life out there on the cruise ship by themselves. And then after a little while, well, why were they able to enjoy the stress of being alone? Enjoy it now instead of having screaming, weeping, and gnashing of teeth, because they weren't alone. They had internalized care and love. It lives inside of them. Well, then you watch them through toddlerhood, and they run back and, and they go out and play, and then they run back for refueling, and then they run back, and then they keep doing that. And it's not too long, they get to be about 3 years old or so, and they have what we call emotional object constancy, which is the love object, being mom or dad, now lives inside. It's constant inside of them. It's been internalized. So now they can be, dropped off at preschool and say, see, mom, have fun, because they're not without mom. Mom lives inside. Or dad or grandma or whoever lives inside now. By this time, it's kind of a party in there. They're not alone. So if something happens on the playground that upsets them, then they have the ability to, okay, well, that's not nice. My mom said that's not nice. And they start to calm themselves down. At work, you go in the sales call. These are the people who come back after the sales call and go back to their cubicle or their office. And they go, God, that was brutal. And they start to think through it and they calm themselves down, as opposed to escalating more and going to a black hole. So an internal soothing system is basically the external soothing system of relationship that gets internalized. Now, the flip side of this is true, too. We have internal ballistic attack abuse systems. And we go through that another day, but sometimes when people are treated harshly and critically, those harsh critical voices live inside as well. They are internalized. Why? Because that's the way the system works. I'll never forget one of my main heroes in my life, professionally and personally, was a woman named Dr. Althea Horner. And she was I would say she was, along with a couple more, in the the latter part of the last century, I would, in my view, the leading psychologists in the world in training therapists how to understand really significant things like borderline personality disorders and how to heal them and narcissists and all this. She was amazing. She wrote a couple of popular books. One is called Being and Doing. There's a few more. But anyway, I had the privilege of her mentoring me for about 20 years. And I remember she said something, and she just said it in passing, but it never left me. What was once on the outside becomes inside. So that's true of critical voices, and it's true of love. So sometimes people are carrying around internal, like mean, anti-soothing systems. Internally, they're getting escalated all the time. So I'll leave you with this on this thought that system and the construction of that system is just as available to you today as it was when you were an infant. This is what the whole field of neuroplasticity has opened up, that, now we can see it in people's brains, which means what's the system? Need, having the need met, having a transformational moment, and then moving on and repeating that times 1,000. This is what we see happens in good support groups, in good therapy, in good spiritual communities, in good relationships. That when you can be in a state that needs transformation, that you have a good external need meter that then becomes internal. We can actually, on brain scans, see what happens to somebody's brain when the name of either a loving parent or a critical parent is slashed before them subliminally. The brain changes. Why? Because that parent lives inside. Well, here's good news. Your parenting didn't stop with your parents. Did you know that? See, that's what we get to be adults. You can choose your new family. And one of my favorite verses, times a bunch, in the Bible, it talks so much about, Paul says it's like a father or like a mother, a nurturing mother. Jesus said, I wanted to put you under my wings like a mother hen, that we are to do this for each other. And as we do that, we choose the people in our lives, as David said in Psalm 101, the good ones, he said, are going to dwell with him and to minister to him. And that's what we do with each other. So I want you, if you have panic attacks, if you have isolated depression, if you have fears and inability to set boundaries, if you have critical voices, I want you to realize that you've got to get in some sort of setting over and over and over again. This is what we do, where you can take your fears. This is what a sponsor does in AA. Somebody's got a moment where they call their sponsor and they internalize that. One of my favorite verses, Proverbs says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. A baby left alone, screaming and crying, will make the heart sick. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled becomes a tree of life. So you meet that need, that longing to be soothed, and it doesn't say a longing fulfilled becomes a happy moment. No, it becomes a tree of life. Now that tree lives in you, and it puts off fruit forever because that love is inside of you now. So if you didn't get a good early beginning, time to get born again, right? And start all over. It's great. It works. I guarantee you it works. We see this. I mean, this is one of the really, 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 really certain things that we know. We just have to do it. All righty, let's go to the phones and see what's happening on the phone line. Sarah's calling us from Michigan. Sarah watches on Instagram. And by the way, some of you may not know this. You can find the program on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or you can download it as a podcast. So you don't have to be here live. You can find it all the time, or you can download it as a podcast and listen in your car, or as you're out there running that 26 miles you do every morning at 5 a.m. All right, Sarah, how are you?
Hey, Dr. Cloud. I'm doing okay.
Doing okay.
How are you?
I'm not too bad either, other than my physical ailments, which I gripe about and complain about all the time. I'm good. So how can I help you? I'm going to a new surgeon tomorrow, though, because they moved now from my spine downward. And hopefully they're going to figure this thing out. So, but what can I do for you?
I'll be praying for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my question is a little bit twofold. It's about boundaries and kind of about. I'm a mom of two boys. They're 16 and 18, and my 16-year-old just turned 16.
Okay.
I'm kind of going through a little bit of the empty nest preliminary, not completely. They both still live at home. But learning to let go, learning to let them be more independent. And my 16-year-old is very introverted, and I'm an extrovert. So I feel like I step on his toes a lot, and then he shuts down. And so I struggle with that relationship a little bit, just trying to do the right thing and be a good mom, and not be.
What would be? Give me one example of what that would look like. And you have one that's 16, and the other's, did you say 14?
18.
18. Okay, yeah. So the 18 is the 18 one still at home?
Yes, he just graduated high school. So yeah.
Is he going off to college?
Nope, he just took a full-time job with a company, like a really well-established company with full benefits. And
great.
Yeah, we thought he was going to go into the trades, but he ended up here, and I think he's going to be a really good fit. So
that is very cool. Okay, so he's functioning well, sounds like.
He is very, he's doing really well.
All right, so give me a moment. Give me I'm sorry, your younger one is what?
No, go ahead. I'll answer your question.
Well, I was just going to, what this looks like. Give me an example of what you were talking about.
Like an example of what good parenting would be, or just okay. Oh, so I think I know what you mean. Okay, my husband and I are having a conversation yesterday, or Monday rather, and my son I thought he was still sleeping. I thought he was sleeping downstairs in the basement with his buddy, and he had actually come up to sleep in his own bed, and I didn't realize that. And his door was open, and he was awake, and he heard us talking. And you know how, like, when you know the background of a situation, and so you're drawing conclusions, and you're just kind of making statements like, well, no, he can't work. Like, he needs a job because I don't want him to play video games and be in the basement and, like, you know, be lazy, and I want him to, you know, take initiative, and he needs to live real life and not just, you know, video games and sleeping all day and playing games all night. And so he needs a job. He needs, you know, a summer gig to work because he needs to earn his way. And so we're talking, and my husband
said,
well,
what great about plan. This place?
Yeah, and my husband said, what?
Ask my girls; they're on that plan.
Yeah, and so so my husband's like, well, you know, he's also 16, and you know, he's got the rest of his life to work. And I'm like, yeah, I understand, but I don't want him to be lazy, and I don't want it to lead to depression after the COVID thing, you know, like, and them being isolated. He doesn't need more isolation. He needs to be out in society. And
no, wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Just to clarify, you have merged two things there. Right.
Well, I just mean when they're going to school, and then they had so many shutdowns, and the kids were home, and they're.
I heard you. I heard you.
Yeah.
But you've merged two constructs, so I want to make sure that you understand that. You said he doesn't need isolation, so he has to get a job, right? So the isolation is one issue. The learning how to have a work ethic and be productive is a separate issue. Let's make sure that we know that. So go ahead.
So It is. I think for me, he hasn't really connected at the school he's at, and he's at a private school, and he has expressed he doesn't like it, but he's kind of an unmotivated student, and so he's extremely intelligent, but he doesn't like to do the work, and if he doesn't see the purpose, he disengages. So I feel like that's kind of isolating, and I feel like because he isolates from the kids at school, then it could lead to that depression, and I think that's like a fear in like every mom.
Okay.
Okay.
So what happened? So, you're talking about this, and what happened?
He says, well, what about this place? Well, he could go work here, and I said, well, he can't work there. That because I already know the owner there, and I know the boss, and I actually know the person in there. I know how they run their business, and they're very harsh with their employees, and he's the kind of kid who doesn't take criticism well. And historically in his life, he doesn't, and he shuts down, which leads to the second part of my problem, because I feel like I'm a critical person. And so, like, we have this conversation, and I walk in to put some clothes away in his closet, and I look, and I'm like, oh, you're up here. You're just sitting up here listening to us, And he's like, why do you think that I can't do that job? And why do you think I'm just sleep all day? It's only 10:30. And so then he kind of starts to shut down. And then I have to say, because there's things you don't know in the background.
Wait, stop. You said then he starts to shut down. What he was just doing wasn't shut down. So how do we go from his pushing back at you to being shut down?
Well, he pushed back at me, and then he rolled over in bed like he was done talking. That's the shutting down I meant. Like,
okay.
So
you didn't say anything.
That, and then he rolled over. Sorry.
Yeah. You didn't say anything. He expressed that, and he bailed. Okay.
Yeah, he expressed that, and then he rolled over and just like, I'm done talking. And I said, no, you need to hear. You don't have the whole story. He's going to want you to work 40 to 60 hours a week. You're 16. You don't need to work that much. You just need a part-time gig.
Stop. I understand. You are passionate about his well-being, right? I want to get at the unplugging and shutting down moment, and I think this will really, really help with your original question about him. That he's shutting down. People exit a conversation generally because they're feeling either incapable of. That's why I talked about the art of confrontation earlier, building these skills. He doesn't feel like he has the capacity to be in the conversation with you. He's going to lose, right? Or he's going to make you mad, or he's going to do something. I don't have the art of this, right? And so I'm going to unplug. Or it's either that, or it's painful, or he is afraid. All right. Now, let me role play this with you. All right, because what you said, he said, why do you think I can't do this? And you go, well, you don't have the whole story, and you start to explain to him why you feel that way, right? And there's good reasons you feel that way, right? Did I lose you?
Nope, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, okay. There's good reason. There's good reasons you feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back in there, and you be him, and I'm going to be you. All right. Give it to me. Hello.
Me give it to you? Oh,
yeah.
Are you there?
You be him. You be him.
Okay.
I'm you. I'm the new you.
Okay. Why do you think I can't?
I'm the you. I'm the you after our conversation today. All right.
Okay. Why do you think I can't do that job?
Well.
Yep.
Why do you think I do?
I don't know.
Really?
say it like I don't, like I'm not responsible, and like I sleep all day.
Well, that must feel crappy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said it that way, and it felt that way to you. What does that feel like if you hear me? If you think that's what I think, what What does that feel like to you?
I don't even know. Like, I don't even know what to say. I feel like not role playing right now. Like, I feel like I don't. This is the breakdown. Like, where I don't know my son. Like,
Right. See what?
we used to be so close, and as he matured, he's
kind of withdrawn.
like, I'm, loud and extroverted and fun and laugh, and we
Right.
do a lot of laughing and stuff at our house, and it embarrasses him, and he just makes faces at me a lot, like, can you be quiet? You're embarrassing me,
And what do you do when he does that?
If I see his face, I just try to gracefully exit the room.
Okay. All right. Here's what I want you to think about. And this is a common thing. I don't think there's a bad guy in the room anywhere, but you've got a style that your energy comes forward quickly, right?
Yeah.
He's got a style that if he's the neurological introvert, then he gets overwhelmed quicker than you. You draw energy and stimulation from interaction. It'll feel a little overwhelming to him, and so he'll kind of go inside. And when that disconnect happens, one of you exits, so you lose the connection. That's what you just described. You'll leave the room because or he'll roll over in bed, right? So the disconnection happens. So here's what I would suggest. I would there's a number of things I would suggest. I would, in those moments, I would make it my primary mission to try to not tell him what I think. Okay. And I'm gonna go back into role play here for a second. I would, when he said that, I would say, you know what? You're right. You're right. I have made some conclusions. I've made some assumptions about you. And that must feel really, really crummy. I would like to know more from you about what kind of job you think you would like to have, or why maybe you can go work there. And we talk about whether or not that would be good. But you're right. And you know what? I've made a decision about you without your input, and I'm really sorry for that. Okay.
Well, I think that you answered my second part, which was my overbearing mother, who constantly micromanaging my life. As a 45-year-old woman, I don't do anything right, and she's critical and jealous.
Well, you don't.
And manipulative.
Yeah. Okay. So let's break that cycle.
Yeah.
Let's break that cycle.
That was actually my question on how to do it.
Okay.
I think
so what?
Answered that.
Well, what? And I'm gonna give you one more piece. But what would your greatest fantasy be that your mother would do?
Just accept me.
Okay. Why don't we give that and maybe get to know what you think and why you're making the choices that are different than the ones that she would make for you. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Simple answer to this. Not easy, profoundly simple. Jesus said, let's treat others like we would want to be treated. So let's go give your son the gift that you want and which your mother would give you. That's the way you would want to be treated. Let's go treat him that way. So I would start with, you know what? I'm thinking about some stuff. I was talking to my mom and she was driving me crazy. She was making up my mind for me and telling me what I ought to do and trying to run my life. And I was thinking back to our conversation the other night where I just defined your future for you. That's horrible. And I'm sorry. I want to know more from you what your vision for your summer would look like. What your vision
Do you think
for
that's disrespectful to my mom to say that to him about her? that
Well, I
being
don't
because
know.
my husband and I said,
I don't
like,
know.
we grew up,
Does he know that she's overbearing and kooky at times?
my son,
Yeah.
my son know that. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not tattling on her. I'd say it like
Right.
this. You know how mom kind of like tells me how to think and everything. We all laugh about that. Well, we all laugh about it. It drives me nuts, but I think, crap, I'm doing that to you. I don't. It's not disrespectful, to be honest. I don't think. If he knows about it, y'all already talked about it. Okay, I got to get some other callers, but I wish I could talk to you longer because you've got the heart for your son. And I think with the little entering into a space where I want you to invite out more of him. As a proverb says, he who gives an answer before they understand is a folly to them. It ends up with somebody rolling over in bed, not talking. If we give an answer before we understand. Now, that doesn't mean your answer is wrong. It's just a sequence. I might have the same answer, but I do have to understand where they're coming from, because if I don't understand where they come from, I don't even know how to deliver the answer. So I would make it my job to start to listen more than I talk to him, or at least first. Okay? That'd be my strategy.
All right. I'll be praying for your surgery.
Thank you. Anybody else, please? Well, no, don't even say surgery yet. I hope. How about pray that God will say, you don't need another surgery. I've already had 2 in the last 10 months.
Then I'll just pray he heals you. How about that?
Thank you. And he gets to choose how. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your call. I think a lot of us were reminded of some good things here that we need to make sure we do, not only with our kids, but with everybody else. Let's listen before. Oh, I want to say one more thing to you. Sarah, are you there? Oh, I lost her. Okay. Sarah, if you are still listening.
Yeah.
Oh, are you there? You said the phrase, you said a phrase that I want you to watch yourself saying. You said in your conversations with him, you said, you need to.
Yeah.
You say, you need to do that. You need. I would eliminate that phrase 100%. Just get rid of it. What you're actually saying to him is, I want you to, right? I'm trying to get you to do something. It's a pressure phrase. You need to go clean up your room, right? He feels no need to go clean up his room. So first of all, it's an empathic breakdown. But secondly, it's a boundary crossing. Now, it may be descriptively accurate that it would be good for him to go do this, but he feels no need. So the first thing we got to do is make sure that his experience is brought into the moment and we're understanding where he is. And then we can say, now I want you to go, to go clean up your room, or I want you to do some work this summer. Okay. And then he says, well, I don't want to do that. Well, if you don't do that, then, you won't be able to have access to your computer, or you won't be able to drive the car, this, that, and the other. And you can make that choice if you want to. You're free to do that, but here's going to be the consequences. Now, if he looks at that scenario, then he's going to go, crap, I need to go get a job or I'm going to lose my computer. Now there's an I need to. But as long as we're saying you need, it obliterates their capacities to initiate.
I appreciate it. And it's confirming to things in my mind that I already knew. Every time I would say it, stop saying
Good.
it. And it was like the harder I tried.
Tell him, you know what? I keep telling you what you need to do. That's what my mother does to me. I don't do that anymore. Would you do me a favor, Joey? Every time I say you need, would you hold up your hand? And I'll apologize. Okay. Sarah, thank you for your call. You're a joy to talk to. And I wish everybody had your ability to sit back and say, gosh, I do need to do that differently. This would be a better world. Thank you for your call. Okay, let's go back to the phones and talk to Dawn, who's calling us from YouTube and lives in Oklahoma. Dawn, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dr. Cloud. How are you?
Pretty well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great now that I'm talking to you. I can't believe it. I'm so nervous.
Well, why would you be nervous? Tell me why you'd be nervous. I mean, other than, gazillions of people are spying on our conversation here, but why would you be nervous?
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much. So it's not me.
Much sums it up.
It's not me. It's all
an
these other
audience.
people. Oh, okay.
It's not you.
Well,
it's not
let
you.
me tell you something.
I've often said.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something about our tribe here, our audience. For the most part, okay, because they leave comments on Facebook and YouTube, but for the most part, this is a bunch of good people, and they're empathic, and they have been through their own stuff, and they love you. And right now, send some love. What you're watching on? What are you watching on YouTube? Send some love up there on YouTube. There you go, everybody. Now we do every now and then we get somebody that's really, really critical, and they don't like anything that somebody says, but we're not going to listen to them if they want to do that. We're going to listen to all the Dawn cheering that's happening out there. All right, so now you're not nervous anymore, right?
I'm a little jittery, but I'm better. But I do have to tell you that I love your books. You have saved my life in so many different ways, and I've often said that I want to be Dr. Cloud when I grow up. I'm 52.
Oh. You want to be, or you want to see?
I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to be as wise as you.
I would. Oh gosh, Dawn, I would aim way higher. Come on, don't set your sights that low. You can do better. I promise.
Okay, well,
there you go.
That's good advice. That's good advice.
So, what is I'd give some more good advice for some people, not you, apparently, but I heard somebody say one time, I can't remember how they were acting. Something. Well, I just have to be myself. I'm just going to be myself. That's all. I'm just going to have to be myself. And I said, aim higher.
Right.
You can raise
Agreed.
the bar. All right. So what's up? How can I help you?
So I have a dating/relationship question.
Oh, I love those.
Of all the things I could call
y'all have the greatest drama. I mean, I love the dating calls. It's so much fun to watch the Super Bowl unfold. I mean, it's great. So what's your question?
My question is that I'm in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
And I have literally just discovered that there are some symptoms of ADHD that are showing up in him that have been triggering me. And I didn't really know where the triggers were coming from. And I think it's this possible ADHD diagnosis.
Okay, define trigger for me. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Because a lot of people use it in 1,000 different ways. Some people use trigger now as an opportunity for me to get mad at you. But a trigger is different than that. But when you use it, what do you mean?
Okay. For me, it goes back to my first marriage of 18 years, where there was possibly some ADHD that was undiagnosed there. Now that I'm kind of learning about what it is and how it affects people. So when there is a loss of memory, or I told you that, no, you didn't mention that to me, I'm getting emotional triggers from my past because my ex-husband kind of did those same things. He was very inattentive. He was emotionally unavailable.
But when you,
a lot of things.
Let me ask you a question. When you say trigger, let's get back to this trigger word. You're seeing in a relationship something that you remember happened also in your marriage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear a trigger. I hear a pattern. I hear a pattern recognition. Oh, I've experienced that.
That could be it.
Now I'm seeing. But where's the trigger? The trigger. You pull the trigger, a gun goes off. So what's
emotionally? when I get that trigger emotionally, I want to run. I want to run away because I feel like I'm subjecting myself to something that I should have learned from that happened in my past that I don't want to happen again.
You're what yourself to something you should learn from? I didn't hear the word. You said I feel like I feel like I'm something myself to something I should have learned. Doesn't matter.
Maybe I said subjecting myself.
Okay.
Like putting myself in a situation that I should avoid.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. There's a Bible verse about that,
There is, and I've
tried
to be very careful about not doing that.
There's a bunch of Bible verses. Proverbs says, the wise person sees danger and runs from it, hides from it.
Yes. Yes.
David said in Psalm 101, there's certain kinds of people he's just not going to be around.
Mm-hmm.
He said the good people are the ones that are going to dwell with him. Yeah. So if you're saying you've had some experiences that have opened your eyes to know that you don't want to get in a serious relationship with somebody who doesn't pay attention to you.
Yeah.
And then when you remind them of something, devalues what you're saying or all of that stuff, then, that's called learning. So now what? What do we do?
It is.
So what I still don't hear a question. I hear somebody go, you know what? I learned something. Now I'm seeing it again. Now you got, what am I going to do?
I guess my question is, am I justified in ending the relationship because of the possible ADHD?
Well, I don't know. Let's go. I don't know. Whoa, I don't. Whoa,
is there something that?
Hang on. If we're talking about justice, we got to go to court and go before the judge.
I know, and that's a long process.
When you go, no, hang on. No, it's not. It's happening in a millisecond in your head. It's not a long process at all. So you justified. Now we're throwing it into the courtroom. So now the judge is going to say, what's the criminal charge here? Or the civil charge? What crime have you committed? Tell me the crime.
I committed.
Yeah, you want to know if you're justified. You're thinking about breaking up? Is that what you're saying? You don't want to be in this relationship?
Well, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster because sometimes I want to be in it, and sometimes I feel like I can't deal with it.
Okay, you're on a roller coaster, but that's not my question. My question is, there's a lot of ways. Some people want to be on roller coasters. Some people learn to get over their nausea and ride roller coasters and enjoy them. Some people decide this one's a little bumpy. We need some repair work on the roller coaster. And some people say, I don't even like roller coasters. So we got some decisions to make, but I want to hear the criminal charge. I want to hear the criminal charge. Why do you use the word justified? What law are you breaking by saying, Joey, I don't think this is a good match for me. Have a nice life. I've enjoyed being with you and I love you. I also think, that I've told you why, but when I tell you why, it's difficult to talk about. And